Morning, YouTube. Hope everyone's doing well. This is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today I'm working on Odyssey. I promise you guys that once I got the arms or the extensions put on, I'll kind of make another video just kind of show you guys where I am. The video's not going to be too long, but today the process will be passivating, where I welded the head on to the neck and then to the body, and then I'll be passivating the rest of the stainless steel, and then later on today I'll be pulling the patina out of the Core 10 extension arms. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my electronic passivating machine to kind of clean the weld marks off of the TIG welds where I did in the neck section. I had to use a lot of stick out on my tungsten for my TIG rod to get in there because it's such a tight little area, like a little crevice. And stick out is just extending your tungsten from your TIG torch out further, and you have to turn your gas up in order to continue to get decent coverage. So I'll be using my machine today. I'll really be just working this area in here. Then I'm going to work this side. Then I'm going to pick the piece up, probably roll it over to that side, and do the same on the opposite side. This piece weighs about 220 pounds after putting the extensions on or the arms on, so it's not a light piece. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine on and get started. And passivating, I'm not only removing the weld discoloration, but I'm also pulling the chromium layer back out over the welds so it doesn't start corroding in those areas. Like I've said before, stainless steel is steel. It's just, it stains less than steel if you take care of it properly. If you don't, you'll have the same problems with it as you would have with mild steel, trying to keep it from rusting. Same thing. Alright, so I'm just going to dip this into some electrolytes. I'm just going to put it on here. So I'm just wiping across slowly, allowing the wand to do its thing. I have a little fly right here. That evidently is used to being around humans because it's not moving. It's just staying here. So I'm just going back and forth, just cleaning the weld. Alright, I think that's good enough. what I'm going to do now is get some neutralizer, put it on the brush, and just kind of wipe it on there. And that'll stop the acid from the electrolytes from continuing to eat away. That's the stainless. When working on outdoor pieces, you don't have to be as precise as when you're working on an indoor piece, the stainless, because outdoors there are going to be all kinds of elements, you know, they're in the elements. And so you want your everything looking really nice. You don't want pinholes or anything like that, but you don't have to be as exact as a smaller piece that's going to go indoors. And you want to be as close to perfect, if you will, even with your outdoor pieces, but they're so big you just can't get every area perfect. I mean, you want to, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. Having a little difficulty getting in this crevice or this little gap area while I was welding, because it's so deep in there. I had my tungsten sticking out from my torch about an inch. Normally you want your tungsten sticking out about a 1/4 inch or less, just to get good gas coverage. But in a situation like this, I couldn't do it. I had to extend the tungsten out in order to get into this crevice area. So just remember that when you guys are making your art pieces, think ahead and just kind of know what you're getting into, because once you get this beautiful piece made up and welded up, you got to remember there's some areas, if it's too tight of a crevice, like when I'm welding, it comes together about like that. So I have to get up in there with my tungsten to TIG weld that without having all these globs, because you have to be able to put your heat from your tungsten on both pieces at the same time in order for your TIG weld to spread evenly. If not, if you only have your heat on one side is hot, the other side is lukewarm, all of your TIG rod is going to melt on the one side. You're going to have this gap that you can't close, so you have to have your heat distributed evenly on both pieces. All right, I'm going to see if I can pick this thing up and roll it over so I can get the other side. It's 230 pounds. Or 220, whatever it is, it's heavy. These are the extensions I welded on, just to give it more width, because before It was just this centerpiece and the base that made up the piece, but it was just too narrow as it went up. So I extended it out with core 10. So this core 10 is going to be the same color as the base and the copper color. All right, let me see if I can move this thing back some. All right, let me lay it down. Lay it down without throwing the back out. That's how heavy this thing is. I want to make sure you guys can see. And I'll be doing the same thing. Just cleaning this section, these two areas with the electrolytes. Put my ground clamp back on my ground magnet. I'll put my the ground clamp on because it has to have that current going in a circle. It's like when you take weld or make weld or anything else. It's a circle, a loop, as we call it. All right. Let's take it. Just dip my this felt tip on here. Changeable felt tip. Dip it in the electrolytes and just wipe it on. Slowly wipe it on. Allow it to do its thing. I have seen these machines go as high as $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for one of these machines. And it's just passivating. This machine cost me about $150 on Amazon. So far, it has worked really well. If at some point I feel I need to buy a $5,000 machine, I'll go out and buy it. But at this point, I don't feel a need to do it because this works just fine. Some areas around here are so deep that I can't get my wand in there. It's just that deep. I'm surprised I was able to get my TIG water in there. Alright. Now I'll use my brush, neutralize it. One more time to get down in there because that's really, really deep. there's a helicopter overhead. We had an air show here in Michigan over the weekend, which is normally pretty cool and all that stuff. Blue Angels will come or the Thunderbirds will come. This year, neither one of them were able to make it. So, the big event this week was a plane crash. There was a Russian MiG-23 that had been restored by a guy named Eric Johnson. If you go online, his name is spelled E-R-I-K Johnston, Johnston. And they're restoring this MiG-23. It used to be a fighter jet. And they brought it here to do a flight demonstration. And something went wrong. And next thing you know, you saw two pilots ejecting out of the plane. And a lot of people thought that the plane was exploding at that point, but those were the ejection rocket propellers, or whatever you want to call them, were shooting off, shooting the pilots out of the plane. And then the next thing you know, a couple of seconds later, the plane goes to its left or right, just depending on your orientation. And it crash landed to its field right next to apartment buildings. I mean, it was a couple feet from the apartment buildings where it crashed. It damaged a couple cars, but no one in the cars. No one got hurt. But the aftermath, you saw this huge jet engine laying about 10 feet from the apartment building, from the where it crashed. So that was the big event over the weekend here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is put a liquid passivator on here. Done with the machine. What I'll do now is let's go ahead and stand it up. Excuse the grunting, but it's an awkward weight. Its base is really heavy. The center is heavy. It's just kind of awkward. I'll move it a little bit closer. Whew, they're heavy. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is go with my liquid passivation. It's Citrus Serve 2310. I'll just paint it on with a brush, only on the stainless steel portion. Let it sit for a few minutes, keeping it moist. I won't let it dry, because if it dries, it turns to like a powdery, chalky paste that is very difficult to come off because it's etching its way into the stainless. I don't want to give it time to etch in. I just want to give it time to pull the chromium layer out, but not attach itself there almost permanently. I'm gonna grab my garden hose. Whatever you do, you do not want that passivation chemical to dry on there. That's as hard as anything to come off. I'm going to move my passivating machine so I won't get water on it. Alright. So the next step is just painting the chemical on. Grab my ladder. This piece is about 6'6", somewhere in there. Alright, so again, I'm using Citrus Surf 2310. That is used for bringing the chromium layer back out of your stainless steel after you grind on it, weld it, or anything else like that. And the key here is to get good coverage over all your stainless steel. And the other key is to not allow this stuff to dry on there. I'm just painting it on, It's like you would paint something, the same thing. And you just try to keep it off of your core tin if you can, because it'll that same white paste will cover your core tin. And sometimes you have to get your grinder to grind the crap off. But if you're in a tight spot, you can't get your grinder in there, then you have these white spots on everything. Just get it on there as best you can, all areas. Even going over the areas that I just used machine on. Don't have to do that, but it's not really necessary, but I just do it anyway. I have some little dark marks that came in over here. I'm gonna see if I can, Passivating will pull it out. I think what I'll do is passivate the upper part first and let it sit for a minute, then I'll gonna work my way down. And again, with this stuff, you want to make sure it's wet and not drying out on you. I like working with stainless steel. I mean, it's a beautiful metal, but it can be difficult to work with sometimes, just depending on what you're doing with it. Really hard sometimes to see pinholes when you're in your shop or studio, whatever you have, until you get it outside. And once you get it outside, then you see everything. So I'm just glad I was able to see some of the pinholes kind of early on. And I was in welding them up, welding pinholes up this morning that I didn't see yesterday. Because pinholes in stainless steel, It's one of the ugliest things there is because they stand out so much. Pinholes on core 10, when it's rusted, you really can't, it's hard to see it because all the rust is filling everything, all the gaps. Well, let me rephrase, not rust, but patina, copper patina that looks like rust. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm working as fast as I can. But I'm going to take my garden hose and just mist this just a little bit. I don't want to take it off yet, but I don't want it to harden. So you just put just a mist of water on it, just so you can keep it on there long. You want to keep it on there about 5 to 10 minutes. It just depends on the day, how hot it is. Or if it's a windy condition, it'll dry a lot faster. So you just have to pay attention to your temperature, pay attention to the wind conditions. And that'll let you know how long you can keep this stuff on. And if you're working and it's super hot, what I would do is either wait to do it later in the day as the temperature cools down, or just do it in sections. Do a little bit do it, let it sit for a couple minutes, just do small areas, let it sit for a couple minutes, then take your garden hose, rinse it off, then move to another area. But do not allow this stuff to dry. I mean, it's not impossible to get it off, but if you have like different grind patterns in it, grind pattern designs, and it's difficult to do that when you have the whole piece together, then it's really difficult to get that grinder in there to redo the grind pattern that you had, because everything is tight now. And you're trying to finish the piece, get it done, get it out of your way so you can move on to something else. So you really don't want to be screwing around with this thing too long. As you see, slight little streaks here. I might have to get my grinder to get that off. I was just trying to etch its way into the core 10. I'm not trying to remove it completely yet. I'm just trying to keep it moist. And I think I may even go back over it again. just to be sure. Because with this much stainless steel exposed, you don't want it to be rusted. So guys, I'm telling you stuff that I don't tell guys at the shows, like I've mentioned before in my other videos. So because you guys are watching this, I'm giving you some inside tips that I don't give people at art shows. I mean, if they watch the video, that's fine. But they come there pretending to just be a curious person that's just wanting information just for the heck of it. But behind the scenes, they're artists trying to learn what we do without just coming out and asking and letting us know that they're artists. They're trying to sneak and do something. Just if you have a question, just ask. And in most cases, I'll answer you. But you come pretending to be just this curious art lover, I won't tell you anything. I guess they want to find out, they come to the channel. Moving kind of quickly, guys, but that's how it's done. If you go to a art show or a museum where they have art, or just walking down the street in a city and you see art, especially stainless steel art, and it's rusting, that means they missed this very important step of passivating. So they may have gotten paid, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, whatever it is. They didn't passivate. You guys know more than they do. And you can create your art and it will look better than theirs for a much longer period of time. And the better you get, the more money you'll make. I love doing this stuff. It's fun, but it can be challenging at times. I think that's the beauty of it. Run into a problem, find a solution. Because with this stuff, you will run into problems. But you become an expert not only in creating beautiful art, you become more of an expert on how to solve problems. I will probably never make this piece again. Probably. Okay guys, so that's the passivation portion of it. So what I'll do next is take another chemical. It's called Rust Rescue 200. It's made by the same company that made the 2310 citruser. And after this dries, I will take that chemical on a rag, wipe it on all over stainless steel, let it sit for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, take a rag, wipe it off. That's just added protection to the 2310. I placed pieces, stainless steel pieces, some years ago using this process. Look at the pieces just a couple weeks ago. They look like they did when we installed them some years ago. Had I not gone through this process, doing what we do as far as a passivation, the stainless steel piece would have looked more like a piece of mild steel, carbon steel. It would have been that rusty. Had we put the patterns and whatnot in with the grinders and welding, we would have taken the chromium layer off, and it would have became just regular steel. It would have been rusted and ugly. I have a friend of mine who does some pretty amazing pieces, large pieces this size, smaller, whatever. He made a piece, put it, he sold it to a guy in Florida, and he got a call back a few years after he sold it, and the guy told him to come pick this mess up. I want my money back. The stainless steel piece had started rusting so bad that it started getting holes in it. So I asked my friend, did you passivate it? He had no clue what passivation was. He put all these grind marks and stuff in it. Beautiful piece. Grind marked it, welded all the stuff he was doing, took it to a show, sold it, and had it shipped out to Florida. And again, he had to pick the piece up and pay this guy thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars back because the customer wasn't satisfied because the piece rusted out. So I told him about passivation, so hopefully he's taking my advice. So it was not just the passivation, guys. I'm going to tell you something. I may have already said it, but I'm going to say it again. If you're in northern climates, you know, Michigan, Ohio, going west, going east, and you're not around salt water, it's okay, it's fine, it's perfect to use 304 stainless steel. But I'll let you in on a little secret. If you start heading south into Florida, East Coast, wherever there's salt water, California, you're shipping pieces out, they're around salt water, you cannot use 304 stainless steel. You can passivate it, you can coat it with the Rust Rescue, you can do anything you want. It will not hold up in saltwater climates. So what you would do now, what you would do in that case, I mean, if you have a pencil and some notes, you can write this down. So in non-saltwater climates, you can use 304 stainless steel. When you get around Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, wherever there's salt water, you want to use 316 stainless steel. That's military grade stainless steel. So you're making your pieces, you're doing all the grinding, all the welding, all this stuff, but you still want to passivate even your 316. But it will hold up to salt water. This won't. That's what happened to my friend. He sent 304 from where he lives to Florida. The salt water got to it. I mean, there's salt water in the air everywhere. It rusted on it. He started getting little rust speckles on it. like I said, another guy, another friend of mine, an artist, was telling people that they get specs on their stainless, they can use barkeeper's friend, which is true. I tell people the same thing, but I won't tell them that if I sent them a piece in 304 from here to Florida. I won't tell them that you can use barkeeper's friend to get the rust off. You won't be able to get the rust off because the rust will have eaten its way into the metal. But here, if this gets rust on it, it's just sitting on the surface. I can take barkeeper's friend and a rag, wipe it off. The rust will come off from a rag. This will look like brand new because it's on the surface. But if you send this piece to Florida or California or the East Coast, wherever there's salt water, and you get rust on it, it's not on the surface. It's eating its way into the metal. Whole different ball game. So northern climates, no salt water, 304. Around salt water, 316. Okay, guys. My next step that I'm going to do, I'll do it off camera, so I have to do some other things. I'm going to take and turn this core 10 from. This is what core 10 looks like coming from the manufacturer. It's like this. But once we treat it with a chemical, or we set it out in the rain or under a sprinkler system, it's going to darken. It's going to turn to, the copper is going to come out to protect it. So that'll be my next process. Is just using safe, not chemicals, but safe products that I use. Hydrogen peroxide, salt, white vinegar, spray on here, brush it on also in certain areas to pull the copper color out. But I don't know if you guys can see this. You see this white area? That is the, it was either from the machine when I was using the electrolytes, or it's from the 2310 that I was using. It gets over on here and it wants to etch its way in. I can take a rag, I can do this. It'll appear to come off. Come back in a few minutes when it dries, it'll be right back. So what I have to do now is take my grinder and grind that out of there. Or when I put my chemicals to bring the copper patina out, you're still going to see it. It's not going to disappear. It's going to be there. So that's why I say if you can, when you're passivating, keep the passivation chemicals off of your core 10. Especially if this white stuff was like down here. It's hard for me to get a grinder down here without hitting the stainless steel with the grinder. I don't hit the stainless steel because I've already passivated it. So just be careful of getting it off. And if you see it running over on it, get your garden hose and sprinkle it off, rinse it off right away. I didn't see that, so I got to deal with it. All right, guys. Again, I promised you I would show you Odyssey once we get the arm extensions on. You can call them arms or extenders or whatever you feel like you want to call them. But that's them on. This is core 10. They are about 3.5 inches wide this way. So they're 3D pieces. They're not just a single 2D piece. See if I can turn it. So it's wide this way as well. It's not just some single little piece. Have it there, and it kind of matches this down here. As it tapers up, it goes out this way just to, it brings out the stainless. So when we it's heavy. So once we get it passivated and you'll see the copper come out, it's really going to accentuate the stainless down the center and on the top. And everything is really kind of pointing, going up to the top. So this is really the main piece of the piece. This is the main focal point, this guy here. So everything is kind of pulling up to there. Even this line goes up and it tapers in going to that. So just little compositional things that we do. Okay, guys, it's been good, spending some time with you guys, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video. After I do this piece, I'll be making a piece called Waves, 2 pieces called Waves. Then I'll be cutting out a piece called Dolphins. Then I just came up with a new piece I'm going to be making. These are all tabletop pieces, all stainless steel. It's going to be called The Dance. It's a piece I've been coming up with for a while now. I had a different piece called The Dance. It came off the platform, went up, it looped, went up, had a little platform on top, and then it had a stainless steel ball on it, like it was resting on it. We called that The Dance. But I'm changing it up. I'm going with something totally different. And hopefully I'll be making a video on it soon. Alright guys, this is Brian Tubbs. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I will talk to you soon. Peace out.